here. So it's lovely to welcome everyone by whichever means you are joining us for this special festival evening service. And this Simchat Torah, we're able to return after a one-year diversion into having, I think it was something like 45 different people sharing the two Torah portions. We're coming back to honouring, in this case, two key contributors to help this community come to where it is today. And so it's a great pleasure for us to be hosting this service here with both Gary and Judy present in the sanctuary, and plenty of other people able to join in the service from their own homes in different parts of the country, and we may even be international. I haven't had a chance to check as yet. The service is going to be a special liturgy, which will be on screen, shared courtesy of Rachel, to whom we give thanks, alongside Ben and Nick for handling all the technical aspects. And those of us in the building also appreciate Larry, who's just outside standing security duty. So with all those things in mind, we're going to begin on page 1, which will come up on screen. And I'm delighted that Helen is going to kindle the lights for this festival of Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah for us.
In the spirit of our ancient tradition, which unites and sanctifies the house of Israel in all lands and ages, we welcome the festival of Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah by kindling these lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivonu l'hadrat ne'asher yom tov. Amen.
Chag Sameach to everyone. Do please be seated, those who are here. On page 1, a verse from the ELELS Psalms for us to set the spirit and the mood for this evening. Lo yamush sefer haTorah hazeh mipicha. This book of the law shall not cease to be on your lips, but you shall ponder it day and night, so that you may carry out all that is written in it. Then you will prosper and succeed. Come across now to Rosie and Jeff to lead us in this responsive reading.
God's teaching is perfect, reviving the soul.
God's word is unfailing, making wise the simple.
God's precepts are right, delighting the mind.
God's commandments are clear, enlightening the eyes.
God's doctrine is pure, enduring forever.
God's guidance is true and altogether just.
Come to the top of page 2. Delighted that Sarah will read the next passage for us in our liturgy.
Hi, sorry, did you? You can't hear.
I think, Sarah, if you are able to read at the top of page 2, if you can see this passage beginning, source of life.
Oh yeah, right. Source of life, every year you plant within us a new tree of life. May it be your will that this year our Torah blossoms with kindness and not cruelty, wisdom and not foolishness, awareness and not thoughtlessness. May you teach us a Torah of love that will nourish us in every season.
Thank you so much. As we open the ark, we now will say the opening 2 lines of the Shema together, and then we'll sing them to follow before reading the Va'ahavta. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God, the Eternal God is one. Baruch Shem Kavod Malkuto Le'olam Va'ed. Praised forever be God's glorious majesty.
Shema Yisrael,
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננת לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך וביתך ובלכתך לדרך, ובשוכבך ובגוריך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. You shall love the Eternal One your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Let these words which I command you this day be always in your heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign on your hand. Let them be like frontlets between your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Please do be seated.
Doubting is but the forefront of faith, a faith in the infinite growth of an unbounded creation. A doubting age is one of restlessness and discontent with what is current. A doubt is an idea that is still alive. To doubt that the past has uncovered all things is to express faith that many things are still to be uncovered. To doubt that we have grown to our full stature and knowledge is to express faith that we may develop into beings of such power and dignity that we cannot as yet imagine what shall be.
Eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
We read responsibly. God of ages past and future, God of this day, as you were with our fathers and mothers, be with us as well.
As you stay with them, strengthen us.
As you were their guide, be ours as well.
Grant that we too may be bearers of your teaching, teachers of your truth.
And then our tradition shall endure, and Israel will live, from mother and father to daughter and son, and all who follow them.
One generation comes, one generation passes. Daughters become mothers, and sons fathers.
Students of Torah then become teachers, and the people and its tradition endure.
The people and its tradition will live.
Baruch atah Adonai, Malkeinu Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. We praise you, O God, shield of Abraham, protector of Sarah. Your might, O God, is everlasting.
Help us to use our strength for good and not for evil.
You are the source of life and blessing.
Help us to choose life for ourselves and our children.
You are the support of the falling.
Help us to lift up the fallen.
You are the author of freedom.
Help us to set free the captive.
You are our hope, in death as in life.
Help us to keep faith with those who sleep in the dust.
Your might, O God, is everlasting.
Help us to use our strength for good.
Shalom Ra'ah Yisrael Tassim Le'olam. Shalom Ra'ah Yisrael Tassim Le'olam. Ki Atam Le'adon L'chol HaShalom. Shalom Ra'ah Yisrael Tassim Le'olam. Shalom Ra'ah Yisrael Tassim Le'olam. V'tov Einecha Levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol sha'ar b'shalomcha. Shalom Ra'ah Yisrael Tassim Le'olam. Shalom Ra'ah Yisrael Tassim Le'olam. Tassim Le'olam. Tassim Le'olam.
Please be seated. Simchat Torah is, of course, a joyous time, and we will gradually, as the service continues, move through Hallel and into the Torah service, and there our joys will be unbounded. But we're reminded at a couple of points in our service that there is no such thing as perfect happiness in a world that is imperfect. And so we take a moment now to remember those who might be close to any of our congregation, whether in person, joining us via Zoom, or subsequently watching this service wherever. To remember that there are many who are going through times of illness or difficulty. We won't be naming individuals, But we do encourage you to think of who those people are for you as we take a moment now to sing and follow with Mich the Mich Sampson at the top of page 5. So we move forward in our mood as we come to the Hallel, an abbreviated Hallel for this evening service. We'll have a fuller Hallel tomorrow morning. But perhaps we can join together in reading the blessing, and then we'll take Mish's lead as we sing from Psalm 113 and Psalm 118. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu likro et ha'halel. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You sanctify us by your commandments and enjoin us to recite Hallel.
Gosh.
And having celebrated the joyous festival thus far, we now come to the particular joy that is the celebration of Torah. And we're going to be joining in the Hakafot in just a few moments in the sanctuary. I want to encourage all of those who are at home that if you can find anything, whether it be a cuddly Torah scroll, a chumash, a siddur, or anything that you can reverently or irreverently process with in your own home, we hope that you will share in the joy that we are sharing. And perhaps if you have any chocolate at home that you want to give yourself after one of your hakafot, then please by all means do that so that you can enrich the joy. And if you want to give yourself a tot of something when you've done a hakafah at home, you're not driving, you can do it. So with all those things in mind, we start our Torah service on page 6, and those who are here will stand as we open the ark and bring out our Sifrei Torah. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God. The Eternal God is one. And with those preliminaries done, we will be processing the Torah scrolls around here to the songs that are available to you. Do please join in the singing here and elsewhere. And if those who are in the building wish to take a turn with the Hakafah, the one variation we're going to ask you to do is come up, get some hand gel before you take hold of the scroll so it stays sanitized all the way through. And afterward, and there will be talitot around, or you can go and get some from the foyer so that you can wear, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Okay? But here we go with Al Shlosha Devarim. Al Shlosha Devarim. Al Shlosha Devarim. Al Shlosha Devarim. Al
Very kind.
I know.
This one is I have a feeling that the per capita drink consumption was possibly higher this evening than it might be on an average Simchat Torah, but that may be a scurrilous rumour, I'm not quite sure. We have, though, delightfully reached that point in the service where we can say with great joy and delight, Amod, Amod, Amod. Gershon ben Binyamin v'Sura Bela, Chatan Torah l'Kriyat HaTorah.
Moses went up from the steppes of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the summit of Pisgah, opposite Jericho, and God showed him the whole land, Gilead as far as Dan, all Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, the whole land of Judah as far as the western seas, the Negev and the plain, the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, as far as Zoar. God said to him, "This is the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will assign it to your offspring. I have let you see it with your own eyes, but you shall not cross there." Moses, the servant of God, died there in the land of Moab, at the command of God. God buried him in the valley in the land of Moab, near Beth Peor, and no one knows his burial place to this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were undimmed and his vigour unabated. And the Israelites bewailed Moses in the steppes of Moab for 30 days. The period of wailing and mourning for Moses came to an end. Now Joshua, son of Nun, was filled with the spirit of wisdom because Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the Israelites heeded him, doing as God had commanded Moses. Never again did there arise in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom God singled out face to face, for the various signs and portents that God sent him to display in the land of Egypt against Pharaoh and all his courtiers and his whole country, and for all the great might and awesome power that Moses displayed before all Israel. Baruch hu et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vaya'al Moshe ha'avarot me'av el hai navur rosh hapiske asher al panei yorecho v'yarehu Adonai et kol haaretz et hagilad ad dan. V'et kol Naphtali v'et eretz Hafrayim u'Manasseh v'et kol eretz Yehuda ad hayam ha'acharon v'et haNegev v'et haKikur v'ki'at Yerehu imhat marim ad zo'ah. Vayomer Adonai elav zot haaretz asher nishbati leAvraham leYitzchak leYaakov lemo zar archa et nena heritcha ve'einecha v'shama lo ta'avo v'yamol shem Moshe Erev Eved Adonai be'eretz Moav al pi Adonai vayikbo ato vaga be'eretz me'av mu'ul beit pa'or v'lo yeda ish et pavurato ad hayom hazeh u'Moshe ben Meah be'esharim Be'esrim shana b'moto lo hato eino v'lo nas lecho vayivku b'nei Yisrael et Moshe ba'arvot me'av Shaloshim Yom Yikomu Yemei Bachir Evel Moshe V'Hishua Ben Nun Malei Ruach Chachma Ki Samach Moshe Et Yodav Elav V'Yisma'u Elav B'nei Yisrael V'Ya'ashu Ka'asher Siva Adonai et Moshe Lo kam Navi Od b'Yisrael K'Moshe Asher Yaudu Adonai Panim el Panim L'chol ha'atot v'hamoftim Asher Shlocho Adonai La'asot be'eretz Mitzrayim B'Pharaoh u'v'chol Avdov u'v'chol Azur u'v'chol Haya V'hachazoko u'v'chol Me Hamorah Asher Asar Moshe Livnei Kol Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chaye olam atah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
We're just going to change over the. Do you want to get that on Tony, please? Just going to change over the Torah scrolls and then we can form up so we can now say Ta'amod Yehudit Bat Chaim V'Chana Kalat Bereshit L'Kroet HaTorah. Come forward, Judy Berkowitz, to read from the Torah the portion for the beginning.
Baruch et Amavah.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'am v'navi mechol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et ha'aretz v'ha'aretz yita tahu v'behu v'hoshe al panei hatom v'ruach Elohim mofet el panei hamayim v'yomer Elohim yeh or v'yeh or ya Elohim et ha'or ki tov v'yifel Elohim ben ha'or ben ha'hosher v'yikro Elohim la'or yom v'lishma kira la'la v'yeh erev v'yeh oka yom echad v'yomer Elohim yeh v'kia b'toch hamayim yeh migdal ben mayim l'mayim v'ya'es Elohim et harakia v'yivdal ben hamim asher מתחת לרקיע ובין המים אשר מעל לרקיע ויהי הן. ויכן אלוהים לרקיע שמיים ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום שני. ויאמר אלוהים יקבו המים מתחת השמיים על מקום אחד ותראה האישה ויהי הן. ויקרא אלוהים לשפי ארץ ולמלחם המים וקרא ימים וירא אלוהים כי טוב ויאמר אלוהים תתעשר הארץ תעשר עשה מזרע זרוע את פרי אשר פרי למינו אשר זרעו בו אל הארץ ויהיכן ותוצא הארץ תשת עשר מזרע זרע למנוחה ועץ עשר פרי אשר
Zaro o Limuna v'yirei Elohim ki tov v'yei Erev v'yei
Yom Shlishi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hi olam natan b'torenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
The translation as well.
When God began to create heaven and the earth being unformed and void with darkness over the surface of the deep, and the wind from God sweeping over the water, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and called the darkness night. And there was evening, and there was morning, a first day. God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the water, that it may separate water from water." God made the expanse, and it separated the water which was below the expanse from the water which was above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse sky, and there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. God said, "Let the water below the sky be gathered into one area, that the dry land may appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and called the gathering of water seas. And God saw that this was good. And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, seed-bearing plants, fruit trees of every kind on earth that bear fruit with the seed in it." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, seed-bearing plants of every kind, and trees of every kind, bearing fruit with the seed in it. And God saw that this was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day.
And we're just going to complete the dressing of the second scroll, and then in a moment we'll be returning it to the ark. And we say, "Behold, I have given you a good doctrine, do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace." Thank you all. And with a feast of elbow bumping going on here, please be seated. It's been my privilege to get to know Judy and Gary over the last few years. But such an occasion needs someone to speak to and about them who's known them much longer. So Rabbi David is going to address us and them.
So what is it that gives energy and power to the Jewish people? Of course, you know the answer to that. It's God's word. It's the Torah. It's our tree of life, our Eitz Chaim. Would we have a congregation without the Torah? Of course not. And of course, from the Torah's point of view, the Torah needs a congregation of Jews to listen to those words every Shabbat, every festival. It's a symbiotic relationship. The Torah needs Jews just as much as we need Torah. And what gives power, energy, koach, to a congregation, a kehillah? Of course, we know the answer to that as well. It's the congregants. And the Torah was given freely to the Jewish people. And the machers in every congregation give so much of their time, b'chinam, freely. They're all volunteers. Petrol tankers cannot deliver without highly trained HGV drivers. And cars can't run empty. Except, of course, for my 50-year-old Beetle, who does very well on whiskey fumes. So, I'll be taking this home. At least the Beetle will be okay. It'll have a full tank of whiskey. And the same with congregations. We don't run on regular fuel. A congregation like ELELS runs on super fuel. 4-star, even 6-star. And I'm talking about individuals like Gary Friedman and Judy Berkowitz. 2 super individuals, 2 volunteers, whom I've known very closely for 35 years, if not more. And of course, many of you will have read the beautiful tributes in the latest Hagesher to the couple that we're honoring this evening, Gary Friedman and Judy Berkowitz. So I'm not repeating now what you can read for yourself, words written by Stuart Spivak and Fiona Hulbert. What I can add, of course, is it's not just the 2 of them that have been part of that congregation for so long. I want to mention Helen, I want to mention Craig and Warren, I want to mention Susie, Sarah, Andrew, inspired by their parents, who also gave so much to our congregation over very many years. These are the people that we need. We've appreciated what they've offered in the past. And of course, we need many more people just like them in the future. I'll end my words now, but just to remind you that, God forbid, if your car fuel tank is empty, I've been told that Warren and Craig in Gary and Heron's loft have a huge stock of whiskey, and they're willing to give it freely and for nothing to all members of the congregation so we can keep mobile tomorrow and in the next year. So, thank you so much. I'd love to give you a big hug, and so much thanks to everything you've given. Richly, richly deserved. Thank you. Now we continue our service with Aleinu, I believe, on page 7. Aleinu l'Shem Olavim umodim, Lekemelech, Olei Olavim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We're coming across to David and Tina Gold.
Still now, our world is incomplete.
Still now, the hunger of many continues night after night.
Still now, the cruelty of some causes pain to many.
Still now, colour, race and religion are tools of division and fear.
Still now, politics and greed overrule morality and justice.
Still now, we must pray and work for a better future.
And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again.
And thank you also, Rabbi David, for those words. And as we pause now to look backwards and also forwards, we begin a new cycle of Torah readings, and we commit once again to learn from our Torah how to live better lives. Looking back, we seek inspiration from all those who celebrated this festival in generations past. Although we won't pick out other individuals tonight, I do want to acknowledge explicitly that Andrew's absence is being felt, but his presence is being affirmed by the fact that Judy is wearing his bar mitzvah talit this evening. And so he continues to be that force, that fuel. I'm not sure about the whiskey, but that fuel as we move forward into this new cycle of Torah readings. And so we pray that all those who celebrated this festival in generations past and their good deeds will inspire us to combine their best hopes with ours and to work for a better world as we join together in the words of the Kaddish. Yitkadal yitkadash shemei Rabba, la'alma tivra kirutei v'yomim malkutei, v'chayei kol v'yomechol, v'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael, v'hagala v'zman karev v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei Rabba v'varach l'olam v'alei almaya. Yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ah 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 Le'ela min kol birchatav shiratam Tushbachatav v'nechemata Amen. Yehei shalom Rabba Shemaya V'chayim aleinu v'al Yisrael Amen. Osei shalom b'namo Uyasei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol b'nei Adam Amen. Please be seated, those who are here. And at this point, before we conclude our service joyfully with the Adon Olam, Ben is going to say a few words and make a few announcements.
Thank you. I've not had to do this in person before, so so normally I just type it up on the computer, but I've also scribbled notes. So if this hasn't come out quite right, then apologies. The sentiment is all there. I'm going to get the announcements out of the way first, and then I'll come to talk about Judy and Gary. So firstly, thank you to Richard for designing and leading the service, and to David for the sermon and delivering the all part of the service as well. To Rachel for hosting, to Larry out there on security, and to Nick for streaming and doing a lot of the logistical arrangements behind the scenes. Things that we've got coming up tomorrow morning, I think we've got a repeat performance from Judy and Gary. We'll be back here. It's another hybrid service. This time it was open to anyone to come to. All the places are allocated now, but I think we gave a place to everyone who wanted one. There'll be no 11s because Gary and Judy are here, so there's no one to do it. So if you wanted to do that, you're out of luck. But we've got 11s every other day of the week, Wednesday to Friday. Next Shabbat, Richard's leading the service at 5:30. On Saturday, we have a guest preacher, Reverend Buckle, who's a priest in Westminster near Robert. He'll be coming. Richard was a guest preacher in his church, now he's coming to return the favour. On Sunday next week, Rachel, who's hosting tonight, and Ross leading an online quiz. We've got Hebrew Olpan starting on Tuesday and Wednesday. So if you're inspired by hearing Judy and Gary read from the Torah today, you can come and number yourself and get up to that standard on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. Then next month, on the 27th of October, we are arranging a group of seats to go and see a play, Leopoldstadt. I think I'm saying that correctly. I think it's a Tom Stoppard play about set in Vienna, I think in the period leading up to the Second World War. If you're interested in coming along with us as a group, although the play is on the 27th of October, we're looking to book this Friday, I think, or before next week. So do contact Nick. The details are in the email today that came round to book your place. And a reminder about the High Holy Day appeal that we're looking to get people so I've got a feeling I'm doing something wrong. No. Okay, sorry. To collect the money and your pledges in the next few weeks before we send it off. So details on the email again, and do contribute, please. So, Judy and Gary, I'm not going to try to draw on the knowledge that David has of you over the long term, and so I wasn't sure if I had anything adequate to say. But I've only known you for a relatively short period of time. I suppose what's occurred to me is when people have been very involved in the community for decades, as you both have, it's easy just to think that they contributed a lot at the start, maybe, or 10 or 20 years ago, but maybe things have tailed off recently, but people haven't really, don't think about that anymore. They come to the congregation, you think they're still quite involved, but maybe they're not that heavily involved. But even just in the period that I've known the two of you, I just think how much you're still doing so many decades after you started. And what particularly brought this home to me recently was I did some slides for the High Holy Day appeal, for the High Holy Day services, and on it we put down what all the volunteers did. We put their names, we put down what they did in the community at this moment, what they've done in the last year. And I ran out of space for both of you. It struck me in my mind for both of you. So for Judy, I think you've been in the last year alone, you've been involved in the finance team and the things that you contributed to Burial as well. You're part of our Zoom host group, you're part of the care team, and you're part of the Puzzlers group. I think the Puzzlers group you started. So they're all things that you've done to support people just in the period that COVID's been going on. I know you're busy volunteering in things outside of ELELS as well, with Bernardo's and Jewish Care and Autistic Society as well. So we're only seeing a little bit of the volunteering that you're doing. And with Gary, I think I first met you when you were the chair, I think, of Betik, as we were doing the merger. So you were very involved right from the very start in what we were doing. And just in the last year, you've been on RMP, you've kind of been the driving force behind ELELS. You've been a Zoom host as well. You spoke at the Hidden Pleasures talk. You've been involved in leading the quizzes, and you're marriage secretary. And I think, from what I can gather, previously when you were at Betik, you did everything else. So you've covered everything over your time here. And of course, that we know you as a very big personality as well. I I'll tell you both that there was Shakoya for you in the commentary, but Gary's already established that for himself because he came over as soon as he finished his Torah portion. Even while I was kind of hosting tonight, he came around with whiskey to make sure I had that. So he's always like a very big presence in any kind of event. And I think the nicest thing that the kind of relief to me is that Julie, that you're not so much. So I get a bit of a break when you're so like really big Shakoya for both of you. Thank you for everything you do in the community. It's a real pleasure to be here on my first in-person talk to say such good things about you. And now I realise what you're trying to do. And to commemorate this occasion, we have some new style commemorative Kiddush cups for you. So I don't know if I can risk this very briefly without a mask, or I probably can. In fact, if you come here, come in, the congregation can see you.
Richard, it's breaking up. It's breaking up.
No, thank you very much.
It's not smooth anymore. It's not smooth anymore. It's breaking up.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben. I'd like to work out what's happening.
Nothing in the chat.
To conclude our service joyfully, Adon Olam is on page 9. We conclude our service. May God bless you with all that is good and keep you from all that is evil. May God teach your heart the meaning of life and grant you knowledge of the infinite. May God reach out to you with tenderness that you may have enduring peace. Amen. Chag Sameach to everyone, Mazel Tov to our 2 honorees, and we'll just bring out wine here for those who are celebrating, and those of you at home, if you'd like to also get something so we can make Kiddush, and then we'll share in the festival Kiddush, which is on the final page. Yeah.
It's a nice shape.
And to die.
We'll start singing the Kiddush now, and the wine I'm sure we'll get round to everyone who needs it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher achabanu mikol am, v'kerevanu la'avodato, v'kiddishanu b'mitzvotav. Vatiten lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava moadim l'simcha chagim uzmanim l'sason et yom hashmini hakatzeret hazeh zman simchatenu mikra kodesh zecher yetziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, otanu keravta lavodatecha, u'moadei kodshecha, b'simcha v'sason hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh Yisrael, v'hazemanim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shecheyanu v'kilanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Amen. L'chaim everyone. Shkoach. Mazel tov. And from here to everyone, wherever you are, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. We're going to get our challah cut up, ready for everyone to share in a appropriately safe way. And if you would like to unmute at home and wish each other and say greetings, we'll mute ourselves here for you.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach to everybody. Thanks to you, Gary.
Chag Sameach.